All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Brothers War podcast. I'm Ryan Green.
And I'm Zack Taylor. And we talk about all things magic, but mostly
Commander. Yeah, all right. And this week we are going to be bringing you Tezzeret Tribal. It's a deck tech.
Yeah.
This one's for you, ZT.
Yep. I'm super excited. Tezzeret's one of my favorite characters in Magic, and I just like that he likes artifacts. I hear he's into them.
he is into artifacts. That is for certain.
Yep.
Okay, but before we get into all of that, let's do the normal thing that we like to do, which is thank you out there for listening and watching. We really appreciate it, and we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you, so we really appreciate that. And if you like it, make sure to like the video below, subscribe, and also, follow us on social media.
Yep. So if you were to want to find us on Twitter, you can find us together at Brothers Warcast. Individually, I'm at Z4CK38.
And individually, I'm at Green Geek.
So, moving on.
Zach, what's been going on in your life, man?
Not a whole lot new, just the regular usual stuff. I'm pretty stoked, though, because tomorrow is going to be a big day for us, I guess, since we're both doing this, but we're going to do a War of the Spark pre-release. I'm definitely excited about that. That's going to be a lot of fun, I think. I'm going to make the Super Friends limited deck. And then after that, something we've been waiting for 10 years now?
Oh, yeah. It's been a long time in the making. You know what we're talking about.
Yep.
It's time for Endgame.
So I'm super excited about that. I'm a big fan of the movies. And, I don't know, usually I can, determine what's going to happen in a movie based on, the name of the movie and how it ties to a storybook. A comic book storyline. But Endgame, that's not, as far as I know, it's not, take on any specific story or comic book storyline. So I have no idea what's going to happen, but we'll find out.
It was really fun watching some of the press junkets with Jeremy Renner and Paul Rudd. The movie's going to start and then it's going to end. They can't talk about anything. It's all really tightly under wraps. And so, we need to get out there and see it.
Yeah, I loved how Paul Rudd and Renner made the poster for that other movie. And they're like, yeah, we're in this movie in theaters now. And it was just a fake movie.
Yeah, it was 50-year-old virgins. The poster was pretty funny.
So what's been going on with you, man?
All right, well, it's time for that hashtag MTG dad moment.
Oh, yeah.
And this one just happened this evening, and it was pretty funny. So we were at the dinner table, just having dinner like we do. And Veronica was saying something about, mommy, something like that. And I just turned it into a song. I was like, mommy, mommy, mommy. I don't know, just singing, because that's what you do when you have kids.
Yeah.
And she was like, Dad, it's not a song, it's words. And she was very stern. Her little brow was creased up here. And I was like, man, I didn't know my singing was that bad. I mean, it is, but
she's a very serious child. But she doesn't realize that, song lyrics are words.
It's true. But yeah, so it was, I don't know, it was just a funny, cute little moment. And I got a kick out of it. I was laughing. Kelly was laughing. And eventually Veronica started laughing. So yeah, it was a good time. So yeah. All right. So that moves us on into a very important segment of our show.
Yep.
Which is to say thank you to one Mr. Mike Condon. Thank you so much. You are a part of the show and you do the music and the editing, but you also do the producing. So Thank you so much for helping us make this great show. All right. So before we jump into Tezzeret Tribal, we're going to talk a little bit about the fact that War of the Spark is available on MTG Arena.
Oh, yeah. Early.
Yeah, before the pre-release. And I got to play a couple of sealed decks, which was really fun. I also got whooped real bad. I think I got a total of 1 win one time and 2 wins the other time. So not the greatest roll for me. But, starting out and I'm feeling out the format and trying to see what's good, how good are Planeswalkers and what is removal good and is green good, all these things. So it's been really fun, and the client has been awesome. The Arena client was perfect, and it was just a whole heck of a lot of fun, and looking forward to doing some more of that soon. But I'm also really looking forward to doing it in person.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I definitely looked at the pulls you pulled, and I don't know, man. I think you won.
I mean, I did get a Nicol Bolas in my prize packs, so I didn't get to play with it, unfortunately, but that doesn't mean it's not coming to a singleton deck on Arena near you soon. All right. So, I mean, I think that's pretty much
Yeah.
it. You ready to
Let's
get all
in
like
there.
metallic arm up in here?
Right?
All right.
Some Ethereum on business. So this deck is it's all the Tezzerets except for one. We can put them all in, but it's pretty good. It's a lot of artifacts, and the real theme is it's a hidden commander sort of deck. The commander is on paper it's Shroom the Hegemon, which says Ryan.
Aha. I was looking at the wrong card. Yep. So, yep. There's the thing that happened. Okay.
There it is.
Shroom the Hegemon is 3 white, blue, black for a legendary artifact creature Sphinx 5/5 flyer. When Shroom the Hegemon enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
That is true.
Sphinxies bringing back the artifacts. So, yeah, that's the actual commander of the deck. But this deck is a hidden commander deck, right? This is actually a Tezzeret Master of the Bridge deck.
Which it's a card that I'm super excited about.
This is the buy a box promo if you buy a box of War of the Spark. And, when I read this card, I kind of like thought that it could be your commander. And I was like a little sad when I realized that it couldn't be. I mean, if you do Brawl, you could definitely do that.
Absolutely.
But Tezzeret Master of the Bridge is, it's a spicy one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you want to read it out?
Sure. Tezzeret Master of the Bridge costs 4, a blue and a black for a legendary Planeswalker Tezzeret, who comes in with 5 starting loyalty. His +2 ability says, Tezzeret Master of the Bridge deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of artifacts you control. You gain X life. That's pretty sweet. We're going to have a bunch of artifacts in this deck.
I want to point out that says each opponent.
Yep.
That is made for Commander.
For sure. His -3 says, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. As someone destroys one of your artifacts, no worries, you get it back. And then his -8 says, exile the top 10 cards from your library. Put all artifact cards from among them onto the battlefield. That seems good.
And there's a piece of text that we didn't read that's really important because it's kind of what the deck is focused around.
Oh, yeah.
It's that static ability that's new to Planeswalkers and War of the Spark. And it's creatures and Planeswalker spells you control have affinity for artifacts. And if you don't know what affinity is, that means they cost 1 generic mana less for each artifact you control.
Yep.
So once you get the Master of the Bridge out there, you can get a lot of stuff down for real cheap. And that's kind of the whole idea of the deck.
Yep. That is true. So, let's see.
Should we delve into the sad backstory of Tezzeret here?
Sure.
So, did a little research for this episode today.
Yep.
And there's a link in the show notes here to the Gamepedia MTG Wiki article. You can read all about Tezzeret's story. And I found it interesting that Tezzeret was actually like it was like slang on Esper for an improvised weapon.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
So, I mean, basically, you might as well be named Shank. Right?
Yeah, like I'm going to change my name to Tezzeret now.
But so I mean, like that's kind of where he's coming up. He was in these, I guess like gangs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like had a rough childhood.
For sure.
And it was really neat to read about that. He was born in Esper and had a rough family life. And one day his dad was like, the people with all the power, the mages in particular here, they take from the weak. And so, that's just how the world goes. And that like really shaped Tezzeret's worldview. So, if you kind of view him through that lens, I mean, he's not necessarily a bad guy. I mean, he is a bad guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's be real. But, he's got some reasons and some character, some story.
Yeah, he has a sympathetic backstory. Doesn't necessarily excuse him being a bad guy, but you definitely see why. And from there, he was stealing Ethereum from his dad, kind of like hiding it, and eventually used that to go somewhere else to start being like to school.
An actual artificer,
to be an artificer. And, he was doing real well there, and took him, he did it faster than a lot of other people. And they still kept kind of shunning him. So he went to read this codex that he thought would give him, this infinite power. And he gets there and he reads it, and it's a blank book. So when that happened, the guards just started attacking him, and they planned on killing him. But like right as they were about to, his spark ignited, and it took him to Grixis, right?
Grixis, yep.
And he was all messed up, and he ended up finding Nicol Bolas, and Nicol Bolas kind of patched him up, in return for what Nicol Bolas usually wants: eternal
servitude. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, I mean, it should be noted that his right arm is made out of Ethereum, right?
Yeah,
He underwent a ritual, I guess, to like replace it. So now, he's like kind of like cybernetic or what passes for that in our game. So, but just a really cool character and a fun backstory. And you should definitely go check out the read here because I don't know, it was very interesting. And
his legs in midsection are Ethereum as well.
Oh, snap. Okay. Yeah. All right. So there you go. So now we understand a little bit more about Tezzeret.
Yep.
Let's understand a little bit more about this deck.
So, I mean, if you know me, I'm into artifacts and like combos and things like this. And so this deck is kind of villainous, evil combo-ness, right? So there's definitely a lot of cards that are combo-tastic.
So you're going to role play the villain at the table and do the combo-y stuff?
I mean, I feel like I do that every time I sit down to play. So we used the slot theory to build this deck. I came to Ryan, I was like, hey man, I have 150 cards. We got to figure that out. And, I had some slots kind of figured out and we whittled it down. So
and you, dear audience, get to be the benefactor of that said whittling, right? We're going to bring to you this really cool deck. It's Esper, and because Tezzeret's from Esper, and we really wanted to have ways to find Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge.
Yeah,
and a lot of those cards are white, right? And he's blue-black, so that just naturally leads to Esper, and we find some ways to go get him, right? Should we talk about that now, or should we wait?
Let's wait.
Okay, we'll wait. So. Let's talk about it. So we got 38 lands in the deck, and they're your typical lands, but there are a couple of special ones in here that we want to talk about. One of them is a brand new one from War of the Spark called Karn's Bastion. This is a land it can tap to add colors to your mana pool, or 4 and tap proliferate. So that's going to choose any number of permanents and/or players and give each of them another counter of the kind they already have. And as you know, Planeswalkers have loyalty counters.
They do.
So the fact that this deck has 11 Planeswalkers in it, most of them being Tezzeret, proliferating is something you're probably going to want to do.
Yep. Another important land that we have in here is Inventor's Fair. So that's a legendary land that says, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, you gain 1 life. Yep, probably going to be gaining some life.
Yep, this deck will do that.
It taps for a colorless mana. And then if you pay 4, tap and sacrifice it, says search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts.
Which should be no problem for this deck.
For sure. Like, this is definitely going to, maybe you have 2 of the 3 pieces of a combo, right? You just get that last piece with this, and it's...
And you embrace your inner evil.
For sure.
and combo out. So... the thing that's cool about this also is it's a flavor win, right? Because this is from Kaladesh. And if you remember the story, Tezzeret was the head judge of the Inventor's Fair. So kind of a cool flavor win that actually also works well in the deck. So that's great. And also in the deck, we've got the 4 possible artifact lands, right? Like the white one, the blue one, the black one, and Darksteel Citadel. So just upping that artifact count just by playing lands, which is really great. And in a pinch, if you need a tutor for an artifact, you're low on lands, you can, or color screwed, you can go do that and fix it up. So that's going to move us on into the 11 said Planeswalkers. And we're going to read some of these out here. So we already read Master of the Bridge. So one thing that's kind of cool in here, this is like Tezzeret Tribal. There are a total of 6 Tezzerets in here. So up first, we've got Tezzeret the Seeker.
Yep.
This is 3 blue for a Planeswalker Tezzeret with 4 starting loyalty. +1, untap up to 2 target artifacts. Great. -X, search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less and put it into play, then shuffle your library. And -5, artifacts you control become 5/5 artifact creatures until end of turn. So pretty good. And the thing that's neat about a lot of these Planeswalkers is starts with 4 and the ultimate's at 5.
Right.
So if you can proliferate once the turn you play it, you can ultimate right away. Karn's Bastion is going to let us do that. And there's a couple of other cards in here that are going to make that happen too.
So the next one is Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas. It's 2, a blue and a black for a Planeswalker Tezzeret. Comes in with 3 loyalty. His +1 says, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of the library in any order. Pretty good. His -1 says, target artifact becomes a 5/5 artifact creature. You've seen that. And his -4, again, is target player loses X life and you gain X life, where X is twice the number of artifacts you control. Twice. So, I mean, again, if you bring this guy in and proliferate, do the -4, it's pretty good. And
It's only target player. It's not each player.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like if you have like 8 or 9 artifacts in play, you're going to hit somebody for a sizable amount of damage.
For sure.
And if you can even just like proliferate a couple of times, maybe you can ultimate and keep this one around.
Yeah.
This one's really cool. And it's a pricier one of the Tezzerets too.
I think it's the most expensive one.
All right. So up next, we've got Tezzeret Artifice Master.
I really like this one.
So this is 3 blue for a 5-starring loyalty legendary Planeswalker Tezzeret. +1, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Thopter, not servo.
Yep. Thopters this time, guys.
Saheeli could use a lesson from Tezzeret. But so that's good. And, that's going to up our artifact count. So that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
0, draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, draw 2 cards instead. You're going to draw 2 cards with this the majority of the time.
For sure.
And that's great. I mean, spending 5 to draw 2, and if you ever get to do it a second time, perfect.
Gravy. Yeah.
Okay, and then -9, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, search your library for a permanent card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Okay, so -9, that's a lot harder to get to, but with all the proliferating that you're doing, it's entirely possible in this deck, and that emblem is a game winner.
Yeah,
for certain.
Super good. So next we have Tezzeret Cruel Machinist. This is from the M19 Planeswalker deck, but I still think it's great. I have one. It's 4 and blue for legendary Planeswalker Tezzeret. Comes with 4 loyalty. His +1 is draw a card.
Always happy to do that.
Yep. Don't until this 0 is until your next turn, target artifact you control becomes a 5/5 creature in addition to its other types. That's not terrible.
No, Tezzeret's 5/5. He's all about making the 5/5.
For sure. And then the -7 is put a number of cards from your hand onto the battlefield face down. They're 5/5 artifact creatures. I think that's pretty good.
Definitely a way to win the game. And honestly, if you just get these out and kind of protect them a little bit, just plussing drawing cards, zeroing drawing cards, that's going to be great. Okay. And so last up of the Tezzerets, the last but not least is Tezzeret Master of Metal. This is 4 blue-black for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker Tezzeret. +1, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact card. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. -3, target opponent loses life equal to the number of artifacts you control. Sweet, that's not even an ultimate. They just get to do that. -8, gain control of all artifacts and creatures target opponent controls. Well, that's just mean.
Yeah.
But good. So, once again, maybe not the flashiest Tezzeret, but still very playable. And just getting to +1 and get artifacts into your hand is going to help out the other Master of the Bridge Tezzeret. Spread your artifacts wide and then reduce the cost of everything else. And if you can get Master of the Bridge out first, this guy could come down for possibly 2 mana.
Yeah.
That's a lot better.
Yeah, it is. So we have 5 other Planeswalkers in here. We have 3 different Karns. We've got Karn Liberated, Karn Scion of Urza, and Karn the Great Creator. The first 2, you guys probably know what it does. Karn the Great Creator, we've talked about him before. It's 4 colorless for a legendary Planeswalker Karn. It comes with 5 loyalty. His stack ability is activated abilities of artifacts your opponents control can be activated. His +1 says until your next turn, up to 1 target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost.
Karn doing his Karn thing.
Right. And you may choose an artifact, his -2 is you may choose an artifact card you own from outside the game or in exile, reveal that card, and put it into your hand.
So not super relevant to Commander, right? Because we don't really have an official sideboard or wish board. But it's that static ability that we're going to talk about a little bit later that makes this a great include.
For sure.
And the thing that's really cool about these and the next ones we're going to talk about is because Master of the Bridge is our hidden commander, these can be free.
Yeah.
Right? So if you've got 7 artifacts, you could just plop down Karn Liberated for free.
And we'll slam.
And that's going to be amazing. Like the first time you get to do that is going to be so much fun. I'll talk about the next 2 colors Planeswalkers. One of them is from the newest set. It's Ugin the Ineffable. 6 mana legendary Planeswalker Ugin with 4 starting loyalty. Now here you go. Static ability. Colorless spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. Great. That includes artifacts. We've got a bunch of those. +1, exile the top card of your library face down and look at it. Create a 2/2 colorless spirit creature token. When that token leaves the battlefield, put the exiled card into your hand. And then -3, destroy target permanence that is 1 or more colors. So if you can play this for 2 mana and then like -3 it to like destroy something, that's great. And it's going to sit around giving you value, making all the rest of your stuff cheaper. Like this is probably one of the ones you want to go get sooner rather than later if you can. And then of course we've got Papa Ugin, the Spirit Dragon. This one's great. This one's insane.
So good.
It's 8 mana for a 7 starting loyalty Planeswalker Ugin. +2. Ugin the Spirit Dragon deals 3 damage to any target. That's a +2.
Like that.
After you do that, it's at 9 loyalty. Even if it's just like to the face or some other Planeswalker, whatever. -X. Exile each permanent with converted mana cost X or less that's 1 or more colors. Here's the cool bit. We're running a lot of artifacts. That minus is not really going to hurt us all that badly. And getting to cast this for way less than 8 is going to be so good.
Yeah.
And then the -10 here, you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, and put up to 7 permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield.
I mean, geez, like if you got gas in your hand, it's go time.
Oh, man. Yeah. So honestly, like getting to ultimate this is probably going to win you the game. And once again, getting to pay anything less than 8 for this is going to be huge.
Yeah. So next we have artifacts. So the official artifact slot is 22 cards, but when you add creatures, lands, and the commander who are also artifacts, you're going to have 28 total. So I feel like we've got some really cool cards in here. A card that I've been excited about for a while and been trying to find a home for is a card called Contagion Engine. I thought about putting it in my Saheeli deck. It's part of a Saheeli combo, but I was like, I don't know if I want to do that in that deck. In this deck, I do.
Also, no, this is a lot pricier these days now that we've got a whole bunch of Planeswalkers and War of the Spark.
Yeah,
so.
It was like $8. I found one of my stuff. It was like $8, and I was like, Ryan, this card's going to go up, and you're like, nah, dog, it's not. And then it did.
It went way up. Yeah, it's a $20+ card these days. But let's tell the viewers and listeners at home what it does.
So Contagion Engine costs 6 colorless mana. It's an artifact. When Contagion Engine enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature target player controls. Seems good.
I wouldn't pay 6 for that, but it's good.
Yeah. But where the real power is, you can pay 4, tap it, proliferate, and then proliferate again.
We're talking double proliferate.
Right.
And, you're going to do all the -1/-1 counters to whoever, the poor person he targeted with the Contagion Engine. But really, like, putting 2 extra loyalty counters on all of your Planeswalkers is going to be huge. And, if we ever find a way to untap this or something, you can kind of go crazy.
Yeah, you can.
So, Contagion Engine's really cool in a Planeswalker-style deck.
And I believe the next card that we're going to talk about will help you do that. Ryan, you want to do this one?
Sure. This card is Paradox Engine good. It's Paradox Engine. It's a 5 mana artifact. It's legendary. And it says, whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. So you can chain a whole bunch of stuff into that Contagion Engine and just like really start going crazy with the proliferates. And, the other thing here is the flavor text on this card is, one look at this glorious item convinced me that Kaladesh deserved my full attention. Sure enough, my time here has yielded exquisite fruit. Tezzeret.
What kind of fruit do you think you got?
Kiwi, I would say.
Maybe a star fruit?
Maybe a kumquat.
Is that a fruit?
I think so.
You sure?
I'm not sure.
Me neither.
Passion fruit?
Yeah,
passion fruit in the name. Pineapple?
Yeah, pineapple's good. I don't know if it's a fruit or not. I mean, sure it is.
I mean, we could have a debate about tomato, but But no, seriously, Paradox Engine is crazy in this deck.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy. It's crazy in every deck, but especially this one.
And it's a flavor win, so that's great.
Yeah.
It's a price card these days. Over the $30 mark. That is rough. But I mean, Paradox Engine's gonna do work in this deck. And don't leave home without it. So up next, we've got another story spotlight card here in Tezzeret's life.
And it's called Planar Bridge. I love the art on this card. I think we've used it before as one of the backgrounds for an episode, but Planar Bridge costs 6 for a legendary artifact. You pay 8, tap it, search your library for a permanent card. Put that card in the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So if you've got, if your artifacts are costing less, because you got affinity for artifacts.
Or Ugin the Ineffable out.
Yeah.
Right? That'll work too.
Get that guy out, get this thing out here, and pay 8, and, get whatever you want, put it into play.
Yep. And again, this is like, if you're keeping up on the War of the Spark story, this is a big player in the story, and Tezzeret is the master of the planar bridge, right? Like, this is the bridge he's the master of. And here on the text, it says, "It is finished. Now the real work can begin," right? So it's a flavor win too. And most notably, Planeswalkers are permanent cards.
Yeah,
so if you want to go get that Ugin the Spirit Dragon, this can do it. If you don't have Contagion Engine yet, go get that. This deck has a ton of permanents in it, and this card's going to be really good. I mean, it's a high price.
It's pricey,
don't get wrong, but like, we've got a lot of mana rocks, and that's going to make this deck kind of hum. And it was too cool not to include it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we got the Chain Veil.
All right, so this is a card that you're probably familiar with if you know anything about Planeswalkers. This is Liliana's gig, so I guess Tezzeret maybe borrowed it from her. I guess maybe.
Right.
Hey, Liliana, can I take the Chain Veil out for a spin?
Right.
She probably would not say yes. It's 4 mana for a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't activate a loyalty ability of a Planeswalker this turn, you lose 2 life. Okay, there's a little bit of a downside, but we have 11 Planeswalkers in here, and tons of ways to go find them, so that's not a problem. 4 tap. For each Planeswalker you control, you may activate one of its loyalty abilities once this turn, as though none of its loyalty abilities had been activated. So basically what this does is it let you get double use out of your Planeswalkers. And in a deck that's all about Planeswalkers, we kind of need that, right? Even if it's not a flavor total win, gotta have it.
Yeah, it's just, you need that card. So up next, we've got our removal suite. 6 cards. It's basically, your typical Orzhov stuff. There's some Swords to Plowshares. Path to Exile. Utter End. Anguish Unmaking. You guys know what these do. They're pretty basic stuff. And it's just single target removal that, you need. And some of these cards just go after non-land permanents, right? And you know what non-land permanent is? Anything but a land.
That's right. I was going to say a Planeswalker.
Yep.
How about an enchantment?
Sure.
Can I buy an artifact?
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. So great cards. We're playing Esper, so we've got access to all the sweet Orzhov removal. Now, here's the other thing. So we're playing a deck with a ton of Planeswalkers. What is a Planeswalker's worst enemy? Creatures.
Yep.
Creatures attacking them, right? So we're going to play a couple of board wipes. We slotted room for 4. You can switch around, maybe up that to 5 or 6 if you really want to. And we've got the normal ones here. Just your Wrath of God, Damnation, et cetera, right? So
Merciless Eviction. I think that card's going to do some work.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you want to bring a bunch of board wipes, and white and black have the best board wipes. So, definitely include in an all Planeswalker deck. You gotta shore up that weakness.
For sure. Counter Magic, again, just your basic stuff. We have 3 slots for that. I do want to mention one specific counter spell that we're playing, Pact of Negation. I think this card is just so good because if you're trying to combo off and some smart person's like, oh, well, let me counter that. I'm like, you just be like, oh, wait, no. With your Pact of Negation.
Yeah, 0 mana to counter that spell, and you're not going to need another turn. That 5 mana debt is not going to come to bite you.
For sure.
And if it does, well, that's okay too. But yeah, I mean, so we're kind of low on the counter magic, but really, this is a combo deck.
Yeah.
Like we said, we're embracing our inner Tezzeret here, and we're gonna go comboing. And a little bit later in the show, we're gonna tell you about some of the combos in the deck. But so we talked about it earlier and we alluded to it, and now it's time. We're going to talk about how we're going to go find Tezzeret. And there's actually a lot of cards that do this now.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, there's one from the newest set. It's called Ignite the Beacon. It's 4 and a white for an instant, and it says search your library for 2 planeswalkers. Both Tezzerets or a Tezzeret and an Ugin, or let's get Karn in the party. Like, let's do it all. Get them out there, and it's an instant. So you can leave open your mana to do some other stuff, and out of nowhere, go get the ones you need. So pretty good stuff. What else we got?
We got Arena Rector. She's 3 and a white for a creature human cleric. That is a 1/2. When Arena Rector dies, you may exile it. If you do, search your library for a planeswalker card, put it into your battlefield, and then shuffle your library.
You know which one I'm going to go get with this?
Tezzeret?
If we don't have Master the Bridge out already, that's the target.
For sure.
But if we do, I'm going to go get Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 mana and you just got an 8 mana planeswalker.
Right. And
it puts it into play. It's cheating of mana costs, right?
For sure. And getting rid of it, the Arena Rector, not going to be hard. Someone attacks you, chumps. Or you Psychic Ashnod's Altar or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ashnod's Altar is in here, and it is part of our combos. The other bit is this is great protection for your planeswalkers, right? Even if you don't have a way to sacrifice it, it's kind of like a tough choice, because it's well, do I attack to lower the loyalty on that planeswalker? But if they can block with the Arena Rector, they're just going to go get another one. So it's kind of a tough choice, and it's a really great card in here. So next we've got Jeru with Eyes Open, 3 white for a legendary creature, human warrior with vigilance. Jeru is a 4/3.
His eyes are open.
It says, when Jeru with Eyes Open enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a planeswalker card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. If a source would deal damage to a planeswalker you control, prevent 1 of that damage. So this is really great if they've just got a whole bunch of tokens. This is going to stop it. And it's 5 mana for a 4/3 that's going to be able to protect your planeswalkers and go find one. So it's like go find a planeswalker and protect them all in the same card. So pretty much auto include.
Multi-purpose.
If you're going to go wide with planeswalkers, be they Tezzeret or otherwise.
Next we've got Ignite the Beacon.
No, I already talked about it. I went off script.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, that's the new one, right?
It is.
Okay. So
it's the beacon that Ral set up to call all the planeswalkers to Ravnica. So pretty sweet card. The next one that can go find Tezzeret can also find anything else in your deck. It's Demonic Tutor.
Yep.
It's 1 and a black for a sorcery. Go get what you need.
Put it in your hand.
Yeah, put it in your hand. It's a great card. If you've already got Master of the Bridge going, do something else. MOTB. Master of the Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so we got one more here, right?
Yep, it's Call the Gatewatch. It's 2 and a white for a sorcery. Search your library for a planeswalker card. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. For 3 mana, I like that.
I envision this card, Tezzeret calling the Gatewatch, you fools. I mean, I think that's, wait with the Ethereum arm, you fools.
He's come at me, bros and broettes.
call the Gatewatch names. We're going to use your tech to our advantage and go find, the planeswalker that we need. So that's a lot of ways to go find him. That's 5 ways. And, we've also got Planar Bridge that can go do it. There's a bunch of stuff in here to go get the Tezzerets. And, it's pretty much important because that's what we're going for. So the next segment here is our flex spots, right? It's just kind of stuff we wanted to play.
Yeah. There's some stuff, but there's some cards you definitely want to call out. The first one being Deep Glow Skate, which is a pretty sweet card. It's 4 and a blue for a creature fish with power toughness 3. So it's a 3/3. When Deep Glow Skate enters the battlefield, double the number of each kind of counter on any number of target permanents. Oh, what has counters on them, man?
Planeswalkers, we're going to be selecting those loyalty counters to get doubled. Yeah. The fish is going to grant our wish.
Yeah,
in the Shally Swish. The Deep Glow Skate is huge. It's definitely gotten bumped up in price since War of the Spark happened. But we're playing blue, so we're definitely going to play it. And this is the kind of card that if you can hold back on some of your planeswalkers, you can play that and Deep Glow Skate at the same time. double it up and just ultimate right away, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you're ultimating Karn Liberated. don't do that. That's the one that restarts the game. So, Deep Glow Skate is amazing in here. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about some interesting cards that are newer here.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely your thing.
Okay, yeah. So Smothering Tithe, it's the new white all-star for Commander, right?
If you're playing white, put it in your deck.
It's 3 and a white for an enchantment, and it says when an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If that player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure token with tap, sacrifice this, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So this is going to help us ramp out and get to our stuff. But more importantly, it's going to widely plant a whole bunch of artifacts onto the table. And so when we're using those Tezzerets that like dome people for the number of artifacts you control, this is great, right? And you can play things like Windfall, or if somebody else casts like Wheel of Fortune or something, like this card can get out of hand pretty quickly. And you have 3 people. It's really hard to pay 2 every time. Yeah,
it is. Like I was surprised. I thought people would just pay the 2, but it's like you said, it's real hard to do. So, and
even if they do pay the 2, you're kind of like, okay, cool. Like, don't do anything on your turn, and I'll just keep ramping and get my Tezzerets going that way. So, the other one that's really cool here is also a relatively new card. It's called Revel in Riches. It's 4 and a black for an enchantment. It says when a creature an opponent controls dies, create a treasure token. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasure tokens, you win the game. So we're not really trying to win this way, but we are playing a bunch of board wipes.
Yeah.
And this is another way for us to get a whole bunch of artifacts in play on the cheap.
For sure. And if you happen to win the game that way, sweet.
Victory. So, yeah, Revel in Riches and Smothering Tithe are like really cool and super good in this deck.
They are. The next card is a card I had never seen before today, but is just super sweet. It's called Inexorable Tide, and it's 3 and 3 blue for an enchantment that says whenever you cast a spell, proliferate.
Do you suppose Muldrotha likes this card? Because she is the Tide Pod.
Oh, yeah. Took me a second. Got there. Yeah. I mean,
sorry, I couldn't resist.
No, that's good. This card just seems sweet because what am I doing all day? Casting spells. And
it's any spell.
Yeah.
And so if you can chain together like a whole bunch of artifacts, or if you can get off one of those ultimates and draw 7 cards, or, I mean, you can be like, whoop, and then like turn that ultimate into another ultimate. And with all of your creatures and planeswalkers having affinity for artifacts, if you've got a whole bunch of those treasure tokens out, you can cast a bunch of spells for real cheap and really proliferate a whole bunch of times. So I think it's a really awesome include in this deck, and it's an enchantment, so it's super hard to deal with. And the last one we wanted to talk about here is it's another newcomer from War of the Spark. It's Flux Channeler. It's 2 and a blue for a 2/2 human wizard, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate. So this deck is mostly non-creatures. There are very few creatures in this deck. I think it's like 7. It's real small.
Yeah, something like that.
But a lot of our planeswalkers make tokens and stuff. So, but this is like the magical Christmas land, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to cast a planeswalker, and then I'm going to cast another planeswalker to proliferate onto all of my other planeswalkers. And it's like proliferate planeswalker, and just like, I don't know. Like, just seems really, really cool.
Yeah, it really does. So now we're moving to the combo section, which I'm not gonna lie, a lot of these combos, I just have a spreadsheet that lists them all because I'm like, I want to find a way to play these. Like, some of them I wanted to put into my Sealy deck. Some of them I wanted to put into a Brea deck, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to be doing it in the Tezzeret tribal deck. So the first ones I'm going to say are infinite mana combos. I'm going to say the cards, and then Ryan's going to explain how it works.
Sure thing. I will do my best.
So the first one is, like I said, this is an infinite mana. The first piece is Rings of
Bright Hearth.
Yes, Bright Hearth. Costs 3. It's an artifact. Whenever you play an activated ability, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 2. If you do copy the ability, you may choose new targets for the copy. So that's part 1.
Oh, I can do the rest. Okay, so Basalt Monolith is the the next card, it's a 3-mana artifact. You can tap it to add 3 mana to your mana pool. You can also spend 3 mana to untap it. So you can't copy the adding mana part, but you can copy the untapping part. And so when you tap it for 3 and you spend 2 mana to copy the untap ability, you net a mana, right? So Rings of Bright Hearth plus Basalt Monolith, if you have enough to get it going, infinite mana, just those 2 cards, right? Because you copy the 3 mana untap, but you spend 2 to do it, and it taps for 3. That's how math works. That's the one. So what's our next combo?
It is Thopter Foundry, Astronaut's Altar, and Sword of the Meek. So let me read those out for us. For those at home, we can find a Thopter Foundry.
I foundry it.
Thopter Foundry is a hybrid white-black and a blue for an artifact that says 1, sacrifice a non-token artifact. Create a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying. You gain 1 life. Cool. And then next is
Ashnod's Altar. So 3 mana artifact. You can sacrifice a creature to get 2 mana.
And then the last bit is Sword of the Meek. It's a 2 casting cost artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+2, equip 2. Whenever a 1/1 creature comes into the play under your control, you may return Sword of the Meek from your graveyard to play, then attach it to that creature. So Ryan, how does that work?
Okay, so this one I'm a little bit sketchy on. So the Foundry, you can sacrifice the 1/1, but I think you need a way to sacrifice the sword, right? When one comes to you may return the Sword of the Meek from your graveyard to play, then attach it. Oh, so maybe it just gets to attach to the creature. But anyway, the idea here is you sacrifice the sword to Crackling Ironworks. I know it works with that one.
Yeah, for sure.
But the Thopter Foundry will make a Thopter, and because it's a 1/1, the sword comes into play attached to that. Then you can sacrifice the sword to Crackling Ironworks and kind of keep going, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, does it work with Ashnod's Altar? I'm not sure. Listeners, let us know. This is definitely a combo, though. Like, you looked it up, so I'm pretty sure it works. My grade on this combo is a C-.
So we should probably read KCI in case people don't know what that does.
It's just like Ashnod's Altar. It's an artifact, but instead of sacrificing a creature, you sacrifice an artifact to get 2 mana.
Got there. So that moves us on to our next combo, Infinite Card Draw. I know I love drawing cards, and doing it infinitely seems pretty sweet. So this one is Sensei's Divining Top. You guys know what it does? It costs 1.
Yep.
And then you can pay 1, look top cards of your library, top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order, and then you can tap it to draw a card, and then you put Sensei's Divining Top back on top of your library.
So if you have infinite mana from the ways we just described earlier, you can tap the top, put it on top to draw a card. You can copy that ability with Rings of Bright Hearth. You still get to draw the card, but there's nothing to put on top of your library. So you just go and you just draw your entire deck, or as much of it as you want to.
Yeah. So you got all the bits. So next we have, that's only in card draw combo. The next one, we have 4 win combos. And guess what each of them requires?
If you guessed our commander, you're correct.
Yep. So the first one is Sharoon, Fraction Metamorph, and Disciple of the Vault. So
here's what it is. Sharoom, when it comes into play, you get to return an artifact from your graveyard to the battlefield. Phyrexian Metamorph can come in as a copy of a creature you control. Sharoom happens to be legendary. So you target the Phyrexian Metamorph. It comes in as a copy of Sharoom. You sacrifice it due to the legend rule.
Mm-hmm.
And so okay, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. Like, I know how all of these things work, but it's tough. But yeah, so Disciple of the Vault says whenever a creature leaves, or it's an artifact. Whenever an artifact, it's a 1 mana card. Whenever an artifact leaves play, does 1 damage. Right? I'm pretty close on that. It's up here. It's creature.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically what happens is, so it comes in as a copy of Sharoom, but then you sacrifice it to the Legends rule, but then the other Sharoom is coming into play, so it can target the one that's in your graveyard now that you sacrificed to the legend rule. So yeah, so Disciple of Vault, single black mana. It's a 1/1 human cleric. Whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard from play, you may have target opponent lose 1 life. So basically, the Metamorph and the Shroom just kind of do this like coming into play infinite dance.
Yep.
And Disciple of the Vault does all the killing. So
same thing with the
Sculpting Steel.
Yep.
Which is just a 3-mana artifact that can be a copy of another artifact. Same thing.
And then again, Shroom with Phyrexian Metamorph and Sculpting Steel. Either one of those, and then Bitter Ordeal does the same thing. What Bitter Ordeal lets you do is it's got what's called Gravestorm, which when you play the spell, copy it for each permanent put into the graveyard this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies, and it says search target player's library for a card and remove that card from the game. Then the player shuffle his or her library.
This one in particular feels like very Tezzeret-y to me. Like it feels super mean because basically, since all these cards like went to the graveyard and looped, looped. When you play this with Gravestorm, you just actually like search every opponent's library for all of their cards and exile them.
Yeah,
and then you pass the turn, and they go, "Oh, I die because I'm milled," basically.
Yeah,
but it feels particularly mean because it's like just their whole library like just gone, and it just I don't know. It's so rough.
And getting 3 people with that, man. That sounds awesome. That is that's how I want to live my best life.
It's maniacal Christmas land.
So the next one, and this is I love taking extra turns, but I love taking infinite turns the most. So this has a Time Sieve in it, which is a blue and a black for an artifact that says tap, sacrifice 5 artifacts, take an extra turn after this one. You combine that with Thopter Foundry and Sword of the Meek, and you start sacrificing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, like basically you can spend like 4 or 5 mana, make all the Thopters, and then sacrifice those 5 Thopters to take an extra turn. And
you
then
do it
during
again
that
next
turn,
time.
you have 4 or 5 more mana, and you just do it again and again. And that's also infinite draw, right? If you take infinite turns, it's like infinite draw
for sure.
So yeah, that's a super great one.
The last 2 we're calling them stacks, and the first one involves Karn the Great Creator. We were talking about him a little bit earlier and said he'd be back. So
the important part of this one is the static ability that Karn the Great Creator has, which says your opponents cannot activate abilities of their artifacts.
So there's a card called Mycosynth Lattice. All permanents are artifacts, including their lands.
And tapping a land for mana is an ability.
It is.
And so this shuts it down.
It does. I mean, they have creatures that can attack you or something, but like, surely you got ways to deal with that.
Well, yeah, or it could just buy you enough turn to like, or enough time to like play more planeswalkers and get their ultimates, and then it's pretty hard to lose a game when your opponents can't tap mana.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I mean, it's like not playing at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people are just gonna scoop.
I mean, I guess maybe if they had like a Birds of Paradise and like Landware Elves, a bunch of mana dorks, they could stand a chance, right? Because it's only artifacts. Oh no, wait, but
those would be.
Mycosynth Lattice makes those artifacts too. Yeah,
exactly.
Nope, no way out of this one.
And then the next one, I think this is real cool. It's kind of cutesy, but Mycosynth Lattice, Darksteel Forge, and Nevermor's Disc, and to an extent maybe Paradox Engine. So you have Mycosynth Lattice, everything's an artifact. Darksteel Forge, all artifacts
that you control
are indestructible. And then Nevermor's Disc, you play it, it comes in tapped. Then you can pay the mana, like when
spend 1 mana, destroy
tap.
all like artifacts, creatures, and enchantments, right?
Yep.
Doesn't destroy planeswalkers.
Yeah. And you can use the Paradox Engine to untap it on the turn it comes into play.
Oh, true. Yeah, you absolutely can. And here's the thing. I actually have pulled this off in real life. I've had like the Darksteel Forge, Mycosynth Lattice, and Nevermor's Disc, and it's just spend 1 mana, destroy everybody else's permanents.
Was this an EDH?
Yeah.
Nice. I know you were definitely the one who told me about that, and I was like, ooh.
Guilty.
My eyes got real big, and I was like, ooh.
He became Jeru.
Yeah.
Your eyes were wide open.
I've definitely like played it in my Saheeli deck, but I've never gotten all the pieces together.
Well, I mean, the deal is like Darksteel Forge costs 9 mana, so it's tough to assemble. But yeah, so those aren't necessarily like infinite combos or draw your deck or anything, but they do win games.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet. They're definitely what I consider win conditions. So that pretty much wraps it up for the deck tech here. So, you have anything else you want to say about the deck?
Well, I just, audience, let us know what you thought about the deck. Are there some cards that you think we should put in here? There should be a link in the show notes to our actual list. So
There
you
will
can
be.
go check that out.
And I'll make sure I throw it out on Twitter.
All right. Yeah. Excellent. So definitely just let us know what you thought. Did you like the deck tech? Do you see yourself taking a little Tezzeret Tribal for a spin?
Right.
Maybe some other Planeswalker from War of the Spark? I mean,
if you sit down with me at a Magic Fest and if
say, Zach, please don't play this.
Let me rephrase. If I sit down at a table at a Magic Fest, are you going to get up and leave? Please don't. I'm a nice guy. I don't always play decks like this, except that I do. No, I don't. But man, you know who I think is really going to like this deck? Max from Commander Central.
Oh yeah,
I feel like it's something he'd want to play. I've heard some interesting decks he's got in this kind of vein.
Well, I mean, what I love about it is that it's like power mixed with like Vorthos, and I just love that flavor and power combination. And maybe you don't take it down the infinite combo route. Maybe you just play a whole bunch of Tezzerets and a bunch of proliferate stuff. There's plenty of things you can do. There's tons of like Tezzeret's Gambit and Tezzeret's Achievement or
Tezzeret's Bake Sale.
Yeah, Tezzeret's Blanket.
Yeah.
Tezzeret's Thumb. He's friends with Krark.
Tezzeret's Wub.
So yeah, all right. Okay, so that does bring us to the end of the episode here.
Yep.
Thank you everyone for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe the video below. You can ding the bell to get notifications. And you can follow us on Twitter. We're at Brothers Warcast. Individually on Twitter, I'm at Green Geek.
And I'm at Z4CK38.
So until next time, this is the Brothers War saying geek
out.